All right.
So in the DAW, do you want it mono or stereo?
Mono, please.
Yeah.
I have you in the chat room twice.
It's because when I popped it out, it did that little
Oh,
dash.
it relogged you in.
Yeah.
Eventually, the red one will go away and the purple ones will stay. All right. We're live.
Cool.
Good morning, Kirk.
Place your laptop.
Oh,
Start with the best writing experience.
Advertisements.
get out of here. Oh,
Yeah.
I clicked it. No.
Yeah. If you have you installed AdBlock Pro?
I have.
What browser are you using?
Right now, Safari. I've tried both of them, man. It doesn't
Because
do it.
AdBlock Pro in Chrome, for me, I
Uh-huh.
haven't had an ad pop up since I installed it.
I envy. I've tried.
Just make sure that some of those sounds are muted. That way they don't pop up during the
I
episode.
actually paused the stream.
Oh, you
'cause
paused
I
the
don't.
video. Right. You don't want the
I don't-
video anyhow.
that's- Yeah. Actually, hey, check it out. One of the bands that I'll be talking about here that gave me a mug.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's nice. Man.
I know.
Everything it's funny with us because Tim's the PD, everything comes to him. So he gets all the cool swag before the rest of us do. So I only see it if he happens to bring it in and use something like that in the studio. I'm like, where'd you get that? Oh, the record label sent it to me. What? They didn't send it to you. They sent it to Broken. Shouldn't we get some choice in who gets what? I just let him have it. It's not worth losing a friendship over, you know?
No. Da, 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 da.
I've still got some junk in my lungs from this cold I had a couple weeks ago, so I'll mute every once in a while and take a cough break just so you're aware.
All right.
No stew today because Paul didn't do one before he left. He thought he might pop into the chat room, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen or not.
So, where did he go?
He is in Nashville for a wedding.
Nice.
So he's actually in Kirk's country right now. Part of the country, I should say.
Kirk, you should reach out, man. See if you can connect with Paul.
Connect up? Yeah, go have a cup of coffee or something. Although, I think Kirk would probably drink coffee and Paul would probably have like a Monster energy drink or something like that. I don't think he's a coffee guy. Let's see. I don't think there's anything else major to go through. We'll kind of shoot through the news, and then we'll dive in and kind of let you take over. We'll keep an eye on time and see, if it starts getting, let's see, if it starts getting over like an hour and a half, then we'll need to start thinking about wrapping it up.
Sure.
So.
All right.
Oh, Kirk hates coffee as well, so I guess we don't have to worry about the two of them getting together for a cup of coffee. But you can have a donut and a glass of milk together. How about that?
Wait, it's Tennessee, so there's always Jack Daniels, right?
That's unless you happen to be in a dry county.
Those still exist, like Prohibition or what?
Oh, where Jack Daniels is made, the town it's made in, it's a dry county.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're allowed to make it. They just can't drink it.
In the words of the Canadian Alanis, isn't that ironic?
It is. Very much so. I still remember her on You Can't Do That on Television.
Ah, classic.
Hey, Alanis. Yeah, Alistair.
That was like I think it was Canadian made, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was filmed up in Canada and distributed through Nickelodeon.
I was gonna say it was our version of like a Nickelodeon, one of those throw slime on everybody shows.
Yeah, exactly. So it was awesome. Now, Canada gets a lot of filming going on up there. I used to watch Stargate, SG-1, and that was all filmed up in Canada, as was the Stargate Atlantis, and I think Stargate Universe was also filmed up there. You guys had Smallville for however long that was filmed up there. I mean, you guys get all the nice WB pretty people shows. WB and sci-fi.
I wouldn't doubt if Dawson's Creek was filmed in Vancouver or something.
Yeah, totally. Let me see. Kirk says they serve OJ at the tours at the distillery. That's funny. I went on a tour. We have in a town called Fairfield, which is just probably about an hour and a half away from here. That's where the Jelly Belly jelly beans are made. And right near there is an Anheuser-Busch brewery. So a couple of buddies of mine and I, we were, 22, 23. We decided to go tour the Jelly Belly factory. And when we got done, we thought, well, we'll pop over to the Anheuser-Busch plant and do a tour over there. And never seen how beer was made before. So we go over there, and they're about to start the tour, and we're sitting down in this room, and they walk over, and they're like, what would you like? And we pretty much, as long as we had an ID, they would have given us any beer they make to taste at all.
Which is almost all of the beers, right? There's only two main.
Yeah, it's like a huge selection of all they have. I had a Pepsi.
Nice.
So I can't get into beer. I don't know why. I can't stand the flavor of it. And I hear people all the time tell me, oh, it's an acquired taste. And it's like, if it's crap, why do I need to acquire a taste for it?
Yeah.
So that's personal opinion, though.
Yeah. It's just like coffee, though, right? And it's the same with coffee in that you're not drinking it for the acquired taste.
Right.
You're drinking it for the effect, right?
Yeah. I think that's very true. I love my coffee, though.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm good with that. All right. Well, you think you're ready to go?
Now I am.
Okay. Good to know. All right. So let's go ahead and hit record in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of the Rock in a Hard Place podcast. My name is Chris Cooner. I happen to be a DJ with Broken FM. You can check us out online at broken.fm if you are into good, old-fashioned, and new-fashioned rock and roll, that is. Well, joining me today, normally I would be saying Paul Gibson. However, he is enjoying Nashville weather and a wedding. So we've got somebody who's pinch hitting for him today from America's Hat. We have Mr. Tom LaBonte. How's it going, Tom?
Good. America's Hat, eh? Yeah, a.k.a. the Great White North.
That's
yeah.
Right, exactly.
My name's Tom LaBonte. I'm from Chatham, Ontario, Canada. I host The Edge on UCB Canada, and I listen to this podcast every week.
Not only does he listen, but he usually hangs out in the chat room as well. Which is fantastic. And he
try
always
to consider the reviews and stuff as well. But
yes, he's a big part of the show, which is why we had to ask you to fill in for Paul when he decided to take off and go sit at a wedding. Who would rather be at a wedding than recording a podcast? I don't know.
Oh wait, that reminds me. Hold on.
Yeah.
I hate Paul Gibson. Okay. Yeah. All right. Here we go. I said it.
Now that we've got that out of the way.
You know what I'm talking about.
I do very much so. Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Paul's gonna love it when he gets to listen to this episode. That's gonna be the highlight of his listening experience. Well, we've got a little bit of news to talk about for those of you who may be vinyl fans and also fans of the band The Chariot. Apparently, Good Fight Music has announced that they just got a second pressing of The Chariot's Long Live album in stock. They have only 150 left, so you'd better order it quick. Of course, this was from a couple of days ago, so they may already be gone. So make sure that if you are a fan of them, go get their stuff. Are you a Chariot fan, Tom?
Now they were a little too heavy for me when they were doing their thing, right?
Okay.
But I've gone back and that last album. What was their last album? Let me look it up here because I really dug it, especially the way it was laid out with the titles of the tracks, right? Like "Forget Not Your First Love,"
Right.
"Speak in Tongues and Cheek." That's sick.
It's nice when they take the time to kind of lay everything out like that. It's like the inside joke that only some people will get. Other people are going to look at that and go, "This doesn't make any sense at all."
Right.
So, fantastic stuff. Tim says the title of our show today should be Tom Hates Paul. We'll see about that. I don't know.
Tongues and Cheek, though. I love Paul.
Yes, exactly. We understand. We definitely understand. Let's see. Next, we have there was a little bit of a hullabaloo this last week with YouTube talking about blocking artist videos, and according to the Russia Times, YouTube is supposed to announce in the coming days that videos on the site featuring recording artists from certain independent labels are going to be blocked unless those labels sign a licensing agreement that'll let those songs be included on a new service coming soon from Google. Continuing on, they say that YouTube Music Mass, which should launch sometime this summer, Gizmodo has a solid article as well, saying that the Financial Times reports that Google has inked deals with the three majors, which is Sony, Warner, and Universal, as well as a number of independents, accounting for about 90% of the music industry. Engadget went on to expand on that, and they said that the truth, however, is a little more nuanced. I'm quoting the Engadget article right now. Labels who haven't signed up to the website's new terms, the majority of which are independents like XL Recordings, will have their artist channels blocked in the next few days. It's not a blanket ban, however, since clips released through Vivo will remain, as well as fan-uploaded copies of tracks from artists like Radiohead, Adele, and I'm guessing that's the XX, the XX. Not a band I'm familiar with. Engadget says the kicker here is that labels who won't sign up to the paid tier are also kicked out of YouTube's ad-supported monetization scheme. So while they may be able to find Lotus Flower on a Radiohead fan channel, the band won't get a single penny. Another downside of the ban is that YouTube won't use its copyright algorithms to blacklist infringing content, leaving independent labels to hunt through the site and issue takedown requests on their own. So this is kind of a major thing. Like YouTube, Google, because they own YouTube, are really flexing a lot of muscle here.
Yeah, and I don't know if I like it, man. I mean, see, YouTube started as the thing that everybody could access and broadcast on, right?
Right.
And Google's changing it, right? And they tried it what a year ago. They tried to do like paid videos, like channels and stuff like that, right? Has that lifted and taken off or what? I don't think it has it? No,
I don't think it has. And see, part of the problem, what I see this as being YouTube's major problem is a broken copyright system.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
if the copyright system weren't broken, I don't think YouTube would be as worried about going to the extremes that they're going to try and stay above board. You know, our show here, we monetize the show, but we don't get enough views on YouTube currently to make it worthwhile. But we're hoping eventually we'll be able to build some of those views up and maybe make a little bit of money that we can then reinvest in the show for gear and that kind of stuff. I'd love to be able to buy Paul a new camera because his is really terrible. But we'll have to see what happens with that. But there's probably, I'd say, a quarter of the shows that we upload get tagged as having third-party content.
Right.
If it's tagged as having third-party content, I acknowledge that we have third-party content on there. Personally, I believe that it should be considered fair use because they're short clips and because we're talking about what a song is, who the artist is. We're promoting the artist in what we play. But YouTube doesn't see it that way. It's a blanket statement. If I click that I acknowledge it, I cannot make money on that video at all. Even if it's only one clip that's 30 seconds long, I can't make money on any views on that video at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a broken system, and it's not YouTube's fault that the system is broken. It's that the copyright system is broken. And I don't think it's just broken in the US. I think it's broken everywhere.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, we're in a new day and age, right? Like, the copyright system that's in place now was not built for this digital age of YouTube and Spotify's and all that stuff, right?
Right. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So it's a matter of the mad scramble trying to figure out where to be and what's the right place to be and how to do X, Y, Z and still be able to make money. I mean, I filled out a survey that I got from YouTube a few weeks ago that was asking, what do you think is fair for future revenue splits and all that kind of stuff? You know, is 50-50 fair? And that kind of thing. And it's like, well, I'm not saying that I want to be able to make millions of dollars off of somebody else's music, but I feel like I should have the right to be able to make a little bit of money off of my entire show and not lose out on an hour and a half show because of a 30-second clip.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so far it's been funny. Only one show has been flagged that had material from your review. And that was only one portion. There was like 4 tracks that got flagged within that show, and yours happened to be one of them.
That's hilarious because I have another guy that does reviews for my show, and for a period of time I was uploading them to SoundCloud, and they were being yanked down one after the other because of that.
Yeah. It just it's such a broken system, and that's and you know what? SoundCloud, I've put copies of this podcast up on SoundCloud, and I have not had any takedown notices at all from them.
Okay.
So it's like there seems to be there's no standard as to what's okay and what's not okay, what you're going to get yanked for and what you're not going to get yanked for. And until some of those things combine together to fix the system, I think it's just going to continue to be frustrating for those of us that are creating content and putting it out there for people to enjoy that can't, that just want to sit and listen to a podcast or whatever the case may be. It's frustrating for us because, like I said earlier, I want to be able to make money on the whole thing and not have the whole thing scrapped because of that 30-second. But I'm okay if they want to come in and say, well, it's a 30-second clip, so you have to give 10% of whatever your revenue might have been. 10% goes to the artist. That's fine. Pay them for their content. I'm okay with that. I don't feel like they should be able to collect everything for my 30-second clip of their music that I'm promoting for them.
Right. It makes me wonder, like, when bands go on, like a Tonight Show or whatever, and they play an entire song, obviously to promote their stuff, do they receive some type of revenue for that? Or is that like, their revenue is global exposure on the Tonight Show or whatever it may be?
Right.
Do you know about that?
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's paid product placement or what. It's one of those things that you'd have to be an insider really in order to understand how that works. I mean, I'm watching a show last night and they've got Apple computers, like Apple iMacs all over the place. But every single Apple logo has a gray circle sticker over the top of it so that the logo's not visible. So that to me says that the prop department wanted to use these computers because they look cool, but Apple did not pay for product placement. So they have to cover up the logo because otherwise it's considered advertising.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when I can't remember what show it was. I think it was The Cape or whatever it was that really bad superhero show.
It lasted for
all I
like
know-
3
yeah,
episodes.
like 3 episodes. But when it started, all I noticed were Windows computers everywhere. I'm like, gee, yeah, Bill Gates shelling out the bucks here. Roman.
Well, that's, we watch, I enjoy watching like CSI, or not CSI, NCIS. And they started a new one a few years ago called NCIS Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And the one tech guy constantly is pulling out his Microsoft Surface tab and throwing it on the desk and is doing all this crazy stuff with it. And so you know that Microsoft has paid a ton of money for screen time and product placement with this particular thing.
Because he's the only one in the world that uses that.
Right. Practically.
Yeah. You know what? This whole YouTube thing, though, it kind of makes me wonder, what's next in terms of... Because right now, if you ask a kid if they've heard this song, oh, yeah, I heard it on YouTube, right?
Totally.
It's the place to go. It's almost like it's replacing radio in some ways. But we don't have a MySpace anymore. I don't use MSN anymore.
Mm-hmm.
What's after this, right? Especially with them kind of, changing the game up a bit, right?
Well, I think Facebook is trying to compete for YouTube time. Because YouTube is getting just a tremendous amount of views for everything. And I mean, if a new song comes out, the first place people go is to YouTube to see if the labels put up some kind of a lyric video. Those seem to be really popular right now, is lyric videos. Or if an artist does a music video. I mean, do you remember when we used to have this channel on our TV that was called MTV? And you could go there, and they would play music videos 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
I think I was like 5 years old. Yeah, actually, it was Much Music. We have Much Music here instead of MTV. But yeah,
but the same idea.
Yep.
YouTube, I think, has taken over where MTV left off, and I think that's part of why MTV went down the trail that they did with more reality shows and far fewer video shows,
right?
Because everybody who wants to watch a video can go to YouTube. Not only that, but you can get things like for the Mac. I think I have a program called MacTube, and I can plug in. I can do a search. It'll search YouTube, and I can actually download a video to my computer with it. Doesn't cost me anything, and I can get whatever quality resolution they have available. So if it's a high def 1080p, boom, I can download that, have it on my computer, I can throw it to my phone, I can take it with me, and I can watch this stuff wherever I want. So YouTube gives you more opportunities for that kind of stuff, and I think that's what YouTube is realizing, or Google, I should say, is realizing, that there's the potential for a tremendous amount of revenue here, but I feel like the way that they're going about it is the archaic, old-school system, kind of like what the RIAA is still trying to do with prosecuting people for downloading music illegally, and what the MPAA is trying to do for prosecuting people that download movies illegally. They're trying to slap everybody with all these copyright infringement stuff. And honestly, I've heard it said many times, and I keep an ear to the tech world because I'm a tech junkie. So what I'm hearing, though, is that the more you try and squash people who are downloading stuff, the more likely, and the harder you make, I should say, for people to be able to get it inexpensively and legally, the more piracy you end up having. If they would open things up a little bit, relax some of these copyright rules, I think you would see that people would be more willing to spend money on the stuff in order to get it and be able to have it in whatever format they want. The fact that I have to go buy a DVD and rip it to my hard drive instead of them giving me, or they may give me a copy for my iPhone or whatever, but it's copy protected to where I can't use it on any device other than like one. I mean, it's a major, major issue. And that's iTunes really leaped forward by saying, you know what, we're removing the copy protection.
Well, the truth of the matter is, too, when you buy media, like whether it's a movie or even a CD, you don't own that, right? You basically paid them to borrow it, and
for however long
with it. Yeah, it's craziness.
Yeah, no, I don't own the movies that I have of DVDs. I have purchased a license essentially to be able to watch it as many times as I want in my own home.
Yep. Not in public.
No, not in public. You're not supposed to do any public playthrough of any of that stuff at all. And that's the harsh reality of the system that we all live in. And I mean, it's not just the U.S. I think you guys see a lot of this stuff up in Canada as well.
I got an email probably a month or so ago from my ISP, my internet service provider, warning me because there was a production company contacting them because I have a third-party ISP, and they were saying they're knocking on our door. They want the addresses of our users, and because they want to track down downloaders and stuff. So they were kind of warning us, and yeah, that's the world we live in right now.
It is totally. Kirk says a couple of things. Number one, he says they're going to solve it by making free podcasting illegal. I hope not. And two, he says, I'm more likely to support an artist through Kickstarter or Pledge Music than to purchase an album through retail. And I think the big thing about that is that when you're doing a Kickstarter or Pledge Music, you know where the money's going, because typically the artist is an independent artist trying to raise the funds to be able to put that album together. So you know that they're the ones that's getting the album. When you have it and you purchase it through retail, and it's not an independent artist, it's a major label artist, the artist is getting pennies of what your purchase price is. So you spend $12 to $15 on a CD, and the artist may see a dime off of that purchase.
Yeah, and they're hoping you come to the concert and buy a T-shirt. Right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Exactly right. Well, speaking of concerts, apparently Skillet is going to be on Rockstar Energy Drink's Uproar Festival.
With some secular acts.
Oh, some mainstream acts. Seether, Godsmack, Buck Cherry, Pop Evil, Escape the Fate, and more. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what sadly, what the Christian community will end up saying about Skillet after seeing them pairing up with these mainstream acts. The hard part for me is just how closed-minded people are to think that it's completely wrong for Skillet to play any type of mainstream anything like that.
Right.
That's the frustrating part. That's the frustrating part.
It's almost like they should have kept it a secret and just went ahead and did it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's what's that old phrase? It's easier to ask forgiveness than it is to ask permission.
Yeah, by the way, we just played with some demonic bands. Yeah, anyway. I think it's a great opportunity, though. I'm always a fan of Christian bands getting in there. Take the Brian Welch deal, right? Like shining light in an intensely dark industry. I don't know where the hearts of the guys of Godsmack are, but the name of their band kind of, hints at they're not too into Jesus, right? So, for a John Cooper to sit down with whoever the lead singer is, and hey, let's talk about some philosophies and religious stuff. That's awesome. Go ahead,
Well, and even if they never have an opportunity to actually have that sit-down, face-to-face conversation, the fact that Skillet can be the good example of, look, you can still be a huge rock star and not deal with all of the drugs and the girls and all of that kind of stuff. I think that's kind of the major thing that is even more important than, it's awesome if he has the opportunity to sit down and have that conversation with them. And of course, that's like bonus points, big time. But I think just being that example of how to live a proper godly lifestyle and still rock people's faces off is, I think, the dichotomy that people don't understand, that you can do both.
Especially with Skillet, with the husband and wife duo, right? Yeah. Like they have a great opportunity to be an example. Well, I don't know the state of their marriage, but hopefully a great example of a godly marriage in front of guys that, like you said, they're probably with a different girl every night. Right.
Exactly. No, I think it's a fantastic opportunity, and I'm glad Skillet's getting the opportunity to step onto a broader stage. I mean, we've been seeing through news and different things that Skillet is gaining more and more acceptance within the mainstream market, and a lot of people fear that. Personally, I think it's a good thing. I think we need more artists in the mainstream. I got done with, I think I talked about this last week. I read Michael Sweet's book, Honestly. And Michael goes through and he talks about bands that intentionally crossed over and bands that were just kind of pulled into, excuse me for a sec, pulled into the mainstream just because their stuff was so good. And he listed out, Kevin Max is one of those guys from DC Talk that could totally do mainstream stuff and be completely acceptable because he's such a talented guy. Guardian was another band that he mentioned that those guys had the chops to be able to pull it off, and they could have easily signed with a mainstream label and still had their testimony, but been able to broadcast it to an even broader audience. And you mentioned a few others, and his whole opinion, of course, is that they were a Christian band, but they never even thought of trying to sign with a Christian label. It was all about getting signed to the same label as Motley Crue and Rat and all of these guys that they grew up listening to on the Strip down in Southern California.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. There was there's a radio station in Detroit, which is about 45 minutes west of here, and they were playing Thousand Foot Crutch, the new "And Is Where We Begin" album. When I was starting The Edge 2 years ago, and before I started the show, it was pretty lame. It was just let's have a rock show, and somehow Michael W. Smith was in the mix and stuff. Yeah, weird. So anyway, when I met with the guys to take over the show, they're like, that radio station, secular radio station in Detroit's playing TFK. Why can't we play TFK? I'm like, of course, right?
Right.
So anyway, that's just showing that they progressed or moved towards the secular market as well and did really well.
Yeah. It's TFK is one of those. Under Oath is another band that has had huge mainstream that had huge mainstream success before they called it quits just not too long ago. And it's actually, what did they just celebrate? 10 years, I think.
Yeah,
of a
one
particular
of the
album.
Greatest albums. Yeah, Only Chasing Safety. That was one of those albums, man. That just light bulb went off, and I was like, what is this? Where has it been all my life?
Yeah. Well, now that's let's kind of slide away from the news a little bit and cover this, Tom, because I know when you and I were talking about getting ready for this show and everything, you said that you didn't really start getting into Christian music or Christian rock until like 2002.
Well, I really gave everything over to Christ in about 2002. I don't have like one of those my new birthday cards, so it's like about 2002, and I was a musician, and I was into like your Corns, your Limp Bizkits, all that kind of stuff, right? And so Christian music was like, whoa, what is this? And I met my future wife, and she was right into Christian music, grew up on it, and she kind of schooled me and told me, you got to listen to Pillar, you got to listen to these guys, and so so about 02, and then 04 was when Safety came out, and like I said, blew my mind. That and Thrice, my goodness, Thrice changed my life.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, see, so that's a great example of Christian artists that were very mainstream. We think of Anberlin, who they're on their final tour right now, or possibly their final tour. I know they're playing Warped, and we're hoping that they'll do a tour outside of a festival as kind of a farewell, and probably will once their new album is out and ready to go. They've had a lot of mainstream success, and they've been the kind of guys that have said, you know what, we're Christians that we're in a band. We're not necessarily a Christian band.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's an interesting kind of ideal, but I think a lot of people are put off by that, and they feel like that's a cop-out, if you will, for people to say.
I don't think it's like saying to Michelangelo, like, you must always paint baby Jesus, always, right? Like, he's an artist. He's going to create art, and from within who he actually is, it's going to come out, and it's the same with music. So.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. All right, so Kevin Max says that he wants to push the boundaries of Christian music. Kevin Max posted an update on his Facebook page talking about the current state of Christian music. He wants to push the boundaries a little, and this is what Kevin has said. This is taken from his Facebook fan page. Quote, working on lyrics today for new songs, really excited about this album. My time with Audio Adrenaline gave me a great perspective on where people are these days in Christian music. But what's interesting is that I think we're on the cusp of seeing some big changes. I'm hoping that people start to embrace different lyrical forms and styles. Lyrics, they've always been my passion. It's hard when you're writing lyrics for the Christian music market. They seem to want a certain thing. It seems like a gauntlet is laid down, a narrow, flat tunnel through which to crawl. I've made new friends within the radio industry. I know they want to see things progress as well, so I don't necessarily think everyone wants to hear the same thing over and over again. I think the people want to hear something fresh, something intriguing, so it inspires me to create something familiar yet unconventional. Here's to it. I hope we're all ready, as we are a family, sometimes dysfunctional, but always trying to be better. That said, I know you get it, Kevin Max.
Godspeed.
What's your thoughts, Tom?
Well, when you were saying different lyrical styles, I'm like, what is he gonna do haikus or something?
Which is exactly what I'm thinking. What is a different lyrical style? How does that pan out? I kind of think of like 21 Pilots as being slightly different in their lyrical styles. They've got some stuff that's singing, and then they've got these rap parts that I know some people can't stand. Personally, I enjoy it because it throws you off. You've got one thing going on, and then all of a sudden you're they throw you a curveball.
Right. Now, it kind of makes me wonder too. Like, is he thinking of being a little more edgy and stuff? Like, I mean, take Emery. I don't know if you've listened to their podcast and stuff, but like, they're not hiding anything.
No.
In terms of their language and whatnot. Is that what Kevin Max is talking about? I hope not, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I say it all the time in the reviews that I cherish honesty and transparency and being real about life and faith and the struggle of a Christian life, rather than I'm always on a mountaintop and Jesus is my hero, right?
Right. Exactly.
So if that's what he's talking about, cool.
Well, it's funny. Tim yesterday posted something on Facebook for the Broken FM page, and he said, people ask us if we're family friendly and positive and encouraging, and we never slap that label on ourselves. Because to a lot of people, we're not family friendly because we cover topics on the air that a lot of Christian stations won't touch with a 10-foot pole, but we cover them based off of what it is that Scripture says. And so we don't feel the Bible shies away from any topic, so why should we shy away from any topic and label something as family friendly or not?
You just reminded me of when I was dating Leslie, my wife. I was watching a movie with her at her parents' house. I think it was King Arthur or something way back in 2005. And her stepdad comes down and he's all upset because there's fighting with swords and there's blood. And he's, why are you watching this crap? And I'm like, have you read the Bible? It's pretty bloody, man.
Well, we were doing a Sunday school group study one time on the book of, I want to say it was Samuel. And there's a portion in there where it talks about some of the wars that were going on that God sent the Israelites to fight. Mm-hmm. And they are killing men, women, and babies. Like, everyone is completely slaughtered.
Baby's head, rock, you do the math, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one of those things. And there was a guy that was in the group, and he took the teacher to task. He's like, you mean to tell me that this really happened? And the guy had such a hard time understanding why God would authorize the slaughtering of babies, that he ended up leaving the church because of it. So it's so hard for people to understand. I mean, this is why I both love and hate that we paint God with the picture of God as being a God of love. He is very much a God of love, but he's also a God of righteousness, and he's also a God of justice.
Yeah.
And I think that we look at justice as everything being equal. And that's not what biblical justice is. Biblical justice is, if God says it's wrong, that it needs to be made right, whatever the steps are to have that happen. Does that make sense?
Especially in the Old Testament, right? Like, but also God is a God of redemption. And,
yes.
And, you take that Old Testament era of brutality and inequality and slavery, all that junk, and then you fast forward to to Jesus, who none of that is in, right? And
Right.
and we're still moving towards that.
Right. Well, and that's the deal between living under the law versus living under the grace of the New Testament and the gospel of the New Testament, and of course Christ being the center of all of that grace. Kirk says, all I have to say, David and 100 foreskins. Yikes.
That should be the name of a band.
The 100 foreskins.
It's biblical, man.
It is. Oh my goodness. So it'll be interesting to see what direction Kevin Max ends up going. But I do hope that it's gritty and real. I know he wanted to push Audio Adrenaline towards a more rock style, and apparently they pushed back, and he ended up stepping away just because they weren't lining up in the same, in the same area. So I really hope that Kevin gets to his rock roots, and I want to hear some grungy guitar with his. One of the best songs for me personally that Kevin has ever been on is on Petra's album. It's called Never Say Dinosaur. And it's a bunch of people that go through and cover a bunch of Petra's most popular songs. And there's a band by the name of Pacifist. And Kevin Max guest sings on this song, and the song is called Louis Solo. To me, Kevin's vocal is amazing on that song. Absolutely amazing. And of course, Pacifist, I had never heard of them until that point. Never heard anything that they've done since then. But that's one of my all-time favorite songs off that album.
So you're hoping for some more of that, like let Kevin out of the cage?
Yes. I mean, his solo stuff, he did a lot of experimental. It was very strange, some of it was ethereal and just very different. But I'm hoping that Kevin gets back to like his DC Talk rock style roots. And I want to see him just completely explode and unleash, for me, the Kevin that I think he can be.
I'm down with that. You know what this reminds me, too, of, I know this is old news, but remember that Michael Gungor blog post?
Yeah, the one that he said got way more attention than he had ever intended for it to.
Right. Well, because he allowed everyone a peek behind the curtain, so to speak. And, there's an industry at work that has certain expectations, and because of those expectations, artistic value or integrity is sacrificed.
Yeah, and that's sad. It's like the label gets to say, no, I don't like that song because it's not going to make us as much money. So go with this other song instead.
Sad.
How about some Sleeping Giant?
I'm unfamiliar with Sleeping Giant, to be honest.
Oh, is that right? They're a hardcore band that is hugely popular here in the States, at least. But they just finished their album. It's called Finished People, and it's going to be debuted on August 19th. So if you want to see what the cover art looks like, you can go over to Indie Vision Music, and they have a copy of the cover art, and you can check that out. Another hardcore band is Those Who Fear. They have a brand new website out, thosewhofear.com. So you can check that out. They have a new album that is going to be coming out. Let me see. It's called Death Sentence. It'll be released on June 24th, and it's coming out through Facedown. Now, we talked about this a little bit. Under Oaths, they're only chasing Safety Turns 10, which just seems insane to me that it's been 10 years since that album started.
Oh, I know. I didn't feel old until I reminisced. When you have to use the word reminisce, you're
right.
Old. Yeah.
And let's see here. Former vocalist of High Flight Society and bassist in Disciple has launched a Kickstarter campaign. His name happens to be Jason Wilkes. Mm-hmm. He's looking to fund a new EP. At the time of this post from the 15th, he was about a quarter of the way there. I did not take the time to check and see if he'd made it any further yet, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with Jason.
If you're unfamiliar with Wilkes, there's a ton of his stuff up on Noise Trade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good deal.
I'm trying to find where I had them, but I think I want to say like 6 albums that I just got right off of Noise Trade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot.
Very cool. Well, we'll have to check that out. Maybe we'll force Paul to do that for his pick for when he comes back, his noise trade pick.
There you go.
Do some Wilkes stuff. All right. Well, that's going to do it for the news. Let's move on to the next thing, and this is going to be a little weird for Tom.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
And a hard place. New music. Review. Wolves at the Gate. 5x5.
I get it. Some people have this opinion that once you've heard one Christian metalcore band, you've heard them all. That opinion has some validity to it. A lot of bands just blend into one another, offering the same screams, the same guttural guitars, heart-pounding drums, and breakdowns. But once in a while, a band comes along to carry the torch of a genre and stand apart. And you can tell they belong to Christian metalcore, but there's something distinctive about them. I offer you Wolves at the Gate. Specifically their second full-length release on Solid State Records, 5x5. The pack of four from Cedarville, Ohio saw some success in 2012-13 with their first album, Captors, and followed that up with a cover EP that showed their love and respect for the likes of Thrice, Blindside, and other 2000s heavy bands, and now they're back with another solid offering. Beginning with a trippy but attention-getting sermon excerpt, Nick Deddy calls you front and center with the words, wake up, the wolves are biting." This opening song assaults with the screams and heavy instrumentation you expect, but yet exceeds your expectations. Dust to Dust was the first single released back in April, and it did its job of whetting fans' appetites for what was to come. A lot of fans worry about the dreaded sophomore slump, and so the first taste has got to deliver, and Dust to Dust surely did. And it didn't take long for the release of another radio single. Of course, I'm talking about the melodic and hard-hitting Relief. Steve Cabucci and Nick Deddy have their doctorates in sing-scream combinations, and this track is a prime example of this expertise as they expound on the words of our Savior's invitation to come to Him, take His yoke, and find rest. Sick riffage, excellent stalls, and effective delivery of a message makes this a solid song. The Bird and the Snake is my favorite track on the album. It's unique among the other songs on 5x5, but as an almost ballad, it easily stands next to the song Slaves from their previous album Captors. The Bird and the Snake is a story of sorts, kind of like an old-school eerie fairy tale with a moral that warns its hearers of the dangers of giving the devil even the tiniest foothold. A snake tempts a bird, requesting a trade of its feathers for some food, until the snake keeps taking so many feathers that the bird cannot fly. Coupled with the creepy admission that the devil is a liar, the father of lies, this song is dripping with spiritual allegory. There are so many more tracks on this record that make it a worthy addition to the collection of albums that you actually paid for, like Rest, which starts with a hypnotic clapping, bringing in a lo-fi guitar riff a la The Strokes, and then kicking you in the face with a well-rounded rock tune. Or East to West, which features a coda that makes the hair on your arms stand up as the band vamps an intense riff while Steve Cabucci shouts the words, "On that day when I see my king clothed in all his power and all his love, I will join with the choirs to sing of his mercies and grace with all of his beloved." Students of Thrice might be hasty to point out all the influences on this album, but one of the stark differences between Wolves and their apparent heroes is that back in the Thrice days, Dustin Kensrue would write in such beautiful imagery he would make you wonder if he was still exploring the way of Christ or if he had fully surrendered. With Wolves at the Gate, there's similar beauty, but fewer questions about where they stand spiritually. These guys are upfront about their faith in a way that's not all God is good all the time God is good, but is artistically articulated in a palatable way that invites their listeners to explore the depths of who their God is. This album could be judged on a wide variety of criteria and still come out as a winner. Lyrical artistry, spiritual content, technical musical mastership, production value, the list goes on. Trust a brother. If you like heavy, snag this album ASAP. I give 5x5 by Wolves at the Gate 5 rocks out of 5. For the Rock in a Hard Place podcast, I'm Tom LaBonte.
Wow, a second 5 rock review. I think My Epic was the only other one to achieve that, wasn't it?
Nope, Demon Hunter Extremist.
Oh, okay. Demon Hunter got it too. Wow, fantastic. Good stuff. I am not a Wolves of the Gate fan, but I appreciate the fact that they're still producing music for people who love that style of music.
Right, and doing it well. That's the thing. You know,
Yeah.
like I said at the top, there's a lot of metalcore bands, but they just mesh into each other. And Wolves at the Gate, to me, stands out.
Yeah, totally. Let's talk real quick before we move into the main topic. Let's talk real quick about the Go T20 album.
Sure.
You've heard it. I have not. I've looked at the song list. So it's kind of like the Petra album that I was referring to, where they have a bunch of artists come on and do covers of other artists' songs. And, Kirk in the chat room's kind of like, meh. And that was kind of your opinion, too. What is it about the album that you feel is lacking?
Well, Kirk actually asked me on Facebook what I thought. And to me, well, I should explain. And I told you earlier that I didn't grow up in that realm of music. So To me, I don't have that, I remember this song. Ooh, they did something good with it. Like to me, they're all new songs.
Okay.
Except for the Reliant K stuff. I know that because, hey, they're Canadian. Hey.
Right.
But it's all, to me, just some, what do they call that? CCM stuff, right? So.
Gotcha.
I'm not going to knock it to those that have that nostalgic, flair to it, but yeah.
Yeah, not so much. Not so much. Let me see. Kirk says it's a direct ripoff of the Forefront 10 album. That's
I do agree with
great.
Kirk, though, that Stereo, the House of Heroes cover there, that was solid because House of Heroes, right? They're awesome. So.
Yeah. No, they definitely. House of Heroes is definitely good. We enjoy them very much. Okay, well, today, since we've got Tom joining us, we thought, well, why not let Tom bring a little northern flavor down to the south here? So Tom has like 30 different clips that he wants to play, although odds are we're not going to get through 30 clips.
No, not at all.
We'll have to pare that down a little bit. But Tom wanted to share with you guys, the listeners, some of what's going on in Canada, some of the sounds and lyrics and all of that good stuff that's coming from up north. So, Tom, I'm going to kind of let you take it away and just kind of do your thing.
Cool. Hey, but you're saying up north, and I should explain that where I'm in southwestern Ontario, about 45 minutes to an hour from Detroit, and latitudinally, if that's a word, I'm on par with California. So, yeah, I'm not too far up north.
All right. Well, everything seems north to me, and I'm in Central California. So, I'm like in the middle of the state on the coast.
Yeah.
So
anyway, I wanted to kind of explain, we have this rule that we have to follow in Canadian radio. We have to play what's called CanCon, Canadian Content,
Okay.
and the CRTC, which is the Canadian Radio, Television, and Telecommunications Commission. They ruled that Canadian radio stations must play 35% CanCon. Okay. And the closer you are to the American border, though, it kind of gets a little more flexible. Like I said, I'm only 45 minutes from Detroit, so because I'm close. In proximity to an American market, I can get away with 25 and around there. So, and then the other thing is to qualify as CanCon, the musical selection, the song, whatever, it has to fulfill certain criteria, okay? Now, in the 70s, they thought of this system called the Maple system. It's Canadian, it's called Maple, I get it. Anyway. It stands for music, artist, performance, and lyrics. Okay?
Now, how much did they try and cram that into using the maple?
Like the CRTC is a government organization, so I can picture all those old dudes in suits. I got an idea. Yeah, maple. Yeah. Anyway, So music is the M. Music is it's composed entirely by a Canadian artist, and the music or the lyrics are performed principally by a Canadian P performance, and then the music selection consists of a live performance that is either recorded in Canada or performed in Canada and broadcast live in Canada. And then L is the lyrics. The lyrics were written entirely by a Canadian. Okay, that's the Maple system. And then,
All right.
just like in the mainstream, there are Grammys in the States. Well, we have Junos. All right. And in Christian music, instead of the Dove Awards that you guys have down in Nashville every year, we have the Covenant Awards.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually the same organization, but they split it up that way. But the other thing
Can't
too
have
is,
Canadians and Americans mixing. I mean, that's just bad, right?
yeah, I mean, yeah, cross ties and whatnot. Yeah, anyway, so I should explain too that in terms of its maturity level, Canadian Christian rock is really in its infancy. And I'm not saying that there aren't good bands, because we're going to talk about some good bands, but there just isn't the organizational structure. We don't have a Nashville, which seems like that is mecca of Christian music, right?
And country.
And country, sadly, yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't have that. So it's basically like, it's popcorn, and a good band pops up out of here and over there and whatever, and there's nothing to pull them together and really, do the Nashville thing. So, but like I said, we do have some good stuff, and I wanted to work through some bands, and I kind of added some structure here, and I wanted to go from past to present, and then to what I consider the future. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now I have to mention, if I'm going to talk about the past, I got to talk about the godfathers of Christian rock, the Daniel Band. Okay? I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they're from the late '70s. They were regulars at the Cornerstone Festival, and here's a clip of their 1984 hit, "Run from the Darkness." So it kind of sounds a little like Rush, but with running from the darkness of Christian faith flair to it, right?
Yeah, there was another band there that I'm thinking of. Like, I don't know, a little Blues Traveler. I don't know, something along those lines. It was kind of had a little bit of that for me as well.
Okay. Well, they're just one of those bands, though. The Daniel Band. If you consider yourself a Canadian Christian rock aficionado, you've got to have them in your collection, because they paved the way, really. So that's the Daniel Band. Had to pay homage. And another band that I wanted to pay homage to before I move on to the present is basically our version of Five Iron Frenzy. You know how they're ska first off, but they've got that humorous side, right? They kind of tongue in cheek, right? Well, you may be familiar with our Five Iron Frenzy, Hocus Pick. Here's their song, "I'm So Happy." I'm so happy, feeling snappy. My life is rosy. I'm feeling cozy. Free, little right.
Yeah, so Hocus Pick, I actually got to see them play here in my town a number of years ago.
Right.
I had a good friend of mine who was a big Hocus Pick fan, and they came and did a very small show. I mean, there was maybe 30 people there through some organization or something along those lines. And they killed it. They played like it was a stadium of 5,000 people. But they were fantastic and a lot of fun and super nice guys. They hung out and talked to everybody afterwards.
Yeah, they're famous for that, for just being, the friendly, hey, we're just regular dudes from Vancouver. We're just gonna have some fun with you guys, and that's what they did. It's sad that they broke up, or retired, I guess.
Yeah,
But
hiatus, whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
What's funny about that particular song, though, I have an aunt who is kind of an Eeyore.
Yeah.
And that song is my ringtone for her when she calls.
Oh man.
So she doesn't know that that's the song that I have for her, but every time I hear that song, it's like, oh, it's my aunt, and I chuckle a little bit because the song is just the complete opposite of her personality.
That's good. It puts you in the mood to pick up the phone. Eh?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I don't know if you heard that. I said, "Hey, we do that here up in Canada."
You mean
Sorry
that's a
about-
real thing?
That's a real thing.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Do you call people
That wasn't
hoser
even
a
my-
lot?
No, there's no. I don't know where hoser came from. To be honest with you,
You don't know?
no, we don't do hoser. But,
Okay, so
definitely-
have you ever watched the movie Strange Brew?
Right? Yeah, I know it comes from there, but that's not a cultural thing, right? It's not a.
Okay.
Hey, you're in Canada. Everybody's calling you hoser or
That's
anything. No, that's totally made up.
You just completely blasted.
But it's that there are Canadians that think that you, Chris, are an American, so you must be holding a gun, right? It's just the way it is.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Or that
So-
because I live in California, we surf to work every day, and
Yeah.
we're constantly at the ocean.
Right. Yeah. Hey, I do have a question about your location though. Before I play another band, are you in Petaluma? Is that where you are?
I'm actually north of Petaluma in Santa Rosa.
Okay. I'm a big fan of Leo Laporte.
Oh
So-
yeah, absolutely. His studios are just down the road, and they've been there for a few years now, and I still have yet to go and watch him record. You can get tickets to go to his show and
The
watch him
Brickhouse.
record. Yeah.
Yeah. Go. Go.
I know I need to. Especially since I'm such a tech guy. That's kind of one of the things that I love. And yet I've never made the 15-minute drive down to Petaluma to sit in a recording of one of his episodes.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
tragic.
I used to live in Toronto, and people are like, "Do you go to Leafs games and Raptors games and Blue Jays games?" I never went to one while we were there for 3 years. It's just,
Yeah.
it's down the road, whatever.
I hear
So I won't play this band for time's sake, but I'll mention them because they hit pretty hard, not heavy wise, but impactful. The band down here, they're pretty successful, and Mark Martel, he got a lot of attention when he joined this contest on YouTube. It was a a Queen tribute contest where you had to go in. If you thought you sounded like Freddie Mercury, you competed in this contest, and the guy not only sounded like him, but he looks like him too.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, within, I want to say 15 days of the video being posted, it had 3.5 million views on YouTube, and to this date it's 8.5 million, and it's freaky when you see it. You're like, that is Freddie Mercury. But anyway, Mark Martel and his band down here were very successful for years and years and years, and it was just a couple years ago they released their last album. But yeah, worth mentioning for sure. So now we're in the present, and I gotta mention 1,000 Foot Crutch, because not only are they incredibly influential up here, but they're a really good band, just
Yes.
objectively. So yeah. So do you think I should play a clip, or does everybody know TFK?
Well, you got a clip. I say go ahead and let it roll.
Roll.
Like angels singing with a million voices. The end is where we begin. It's crawling back when we run away, 'cause the end is where we begin. We're broken hearts, mend and start to beat again. The end is where we begin.
Yeah, 1,000 Foot Crutch. I'm actually going to see them tomorrow night. My wife and I are heading up to Toronto. It's 3-hour drive from here, and they're playing at a festival called Wonder Jam. It
Okay.
happens at it's called Canada's Wonderland, which is basically our version of Six Flags.
Okay.
That's your American thing, right?
Yep.
So every year they have this festival, and this year it's Lecrae, TFK, and Toby Mac.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, and then with the whole radio hookup, I get to actually hang out with them for a bit. So that's gonna be sick.
Very cool. They're going to be playing Joshua Fest here at the end of August, beginning of September, and that's about a 4-hour drive. That I think I'm not going to be able to go to it, but Tim is planning on heading up there as a Broken FM representative, so he'll have an opportunity to see them and hopefully get some interview FaceTime as well. So yeah, I still haven't seen TFK play live. I've missed every opportunity, and I think that this will be like the first time they've been in California in a couple of years.
Oh wow! And TFK, Trevor McNeven, he's good for FaceTime. He'll open the door to anyone. Now, speaking of seeing TFK live, now, because of where I live, I saw them in their infancy when they were just, a few guys packing up their own gear and setting up in a teen drop-in center and playing, loud music that everybody's like, what the heck is this? But I do remember when they played here in downtown, and the first time I heard Rock Fist, that was such a cool moment. I was like, this is a cool tune right here.
Yeah. And look at what it went on to.
Huge, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But not only TFK, but Trevor's involved with a side project called FM Static, which is a little different, obviously because it's a side project. But here, listen to this, and you'll see just how different it is.
Can't trust what you think you know. Don't follow that yellow brick road when your brain says stop. But you lose like a wind when my brain kicks in. It beats like a drum when my heart says some. I come so undone. Now me choose which one. I want to be smart, but I want to have fun. So I say I'll do my best. Don't get upset. Sometimes my brain says no, but my heart says yes.
Much different.
Oh yeah,
from,
it's they're a lot more, I'd say, pop punk in FM Static than they are in Thousand Foot Crutch.
Yeah, which that's Trevor's outlet, right? Like he's like,
Right.
I like that stuff, but I got to do this too. And it's cool when you see. I don't know if they perform together anymore, but when FM Static just got started, they would kind of tag along a lot. And Trevor would do FM Static, and then 45 minutes later he'd come on with TFK. I don't know how he did that. He was probably so exhausted at the end of the day. But,
We've always wondered that kind of stuff. When we heard that FM Static was touring with TFK, we're like, well, okay, that kind of makes sense. But at the same time, man, how does Trevor's voice not just completely get shredded every night having to sing that much?
Yeah. Yeah, when I saw them, he was drenched. Well, obviously he's going to be sweating, but it's more than that. It's exhaustion too, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so we're in the present. TFK, FM Static. Now, Reliant K. Now, people sometimes are like, what? They're not Canadian. Well, Matt Thiessen was born in St. Catharines, Ontario, which, according to the Maple system, is cool. He is CanCon, right? So,
Excellent.
here is Don't Blink off their latest album, Collapsible Lung. Now, have you wondered why that album hasn't really done as well as their past albums? Because I think it's solid, but it doesn't seem to be taking off.
It doesn't seem that they're servicing it very well, though, either. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't gotten word of a new Reliant K single recently.
Yeah, well, probably
So-
doesn't help. But there are a couple scandalous numbers on the album too, right?
Oh, that may be.
Yeah, the one about I think it's a 17-year-old having a baby or something like that, and according to Kevin Max, you can't say that in Christian music,
Well,
right?
it's not just Kevin Max though who says you can't say that, and I know he's doing it tongue in cheek, of course, but
Right.
it's the reality, this perception that you can't talk about those things because then it makes them true. It's already
Right.
true. It happens every day.
See, you don't even need to tell me that because I'm the guy that we just put on an event about cutting and suicide and other issues that teens deal with every single day. And we had parents that are like, my kid can't go to that because if they hear about it, they're gonna do it. And it's like, no. Matter of fact, they might already be doing it.
Right.
And you have no idea. Like,
If you're not
real.
telling them about it, they're hearing about it from their friends. And who would you rather them hear about it from? An adult who can give them both sides of the story, or their friend who's only going to tell them this is what you need to be doing because it'll make you feel better?
Totally.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's the same thing with sex. It's the same thing with alcohol. It's the same thing with firearms. The kids that end up shooting their friends because they're playing with a gun are the kids where their parents decided to not tell them anything about the gun at all and just keep it hidden up in a closet for the kid to accidentally find when he's looking for something else.
That's right. Yep.
It's about the education. If you don't educate your kids on what's okay and what's not okay and tell them the nasty stories about what happened to people who made the wrong decision, you're going to continue to have all of these problems. Growing up, my parents actually ran a bus depot for Greyhound. And so I saw the dregs of humanity come through those doors. People were high. People were drunk. We had homeless people coming through that were just, filthy because they had no place else to go. I saw all of that stuff. And all it did for me was reinforce the fact that I see the consequences of those actions. I don't even want to attempt to touch the stuff because of that.
Right.
I have friends whose parents were pastors, and they never talked about that stuff. They sheltered their kids from that stuff. The kid goes off to a mainstream college or even a Christian college. Next thing you know, they're drinking all the time, they're pregnant, whatever the case may be, because they weren't shared with what the real life consequences are of making these wrong choices. They were just told don't do it.
Yeah, they had that friend come up, hey man, you got to try this. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's their only information. Of course they're going to do that. Right?
Exactly.
But you saw the negative effects, which is the real effects.
Right.
And yeah, so you made wise choices.
It's kind of like Scared Straight, that kind of idea.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of Scared Straight, Manifest is he's a cool dude. I'm really proud of him these days because not only has his music gotten better, especially with his latest album Fighter, and I assume that his album what did I say it was called? The Message?
yeah, something along those lines. You even looked it up, man.
I looked it up. Anyway, I assume it's going to be awesome because he just progressively gets better and better. And The Moment, not the Message.
Moment, yes.
August 5th.
Good deal.
He actually has a new radio show airing up in Canada, which is pretty cool. It comes on right before mine on UCB, and he's kicking it, man. That and his podcast is pretty solid, and his book.
Wait,
right?
Manifest has a podcast?
Manifest has a podcast, and it's all about positivity and if you have a goal in life, go for it. Be a fighter and excel and stuff. It's
did
really
not
cool.
know he had a podcast. I'm gonna have to go look that up.
Check it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Chris, he's a cool guy too. I mean, that's another guy that because of where I live, I saw, him traveling, him and his wife, town to town, unpacking, doing their thing, getting $5 for the show and moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, he's not selling out stadiums or anything, but he's doing well. So
The thing I love about Manifest is you get him on the phone, you're talking to him, whatever. He's this quiet, shy-ish kind of guy. You put him on stage with a microphone and a beat, and he becomes a completely different person.
well, he turns from Chris Greenwood to Manifest.
Totally. And it's like a whole different persona. I mean, it would almost be schizophrenic if I didn't know that this is just how he communicates.
Right. Yeah. So we all know how Manifest sounds. So I'll skip him. I'm also going to skip because I'm going to play a derivative. I'm going to skip Hawk Nelson because you know what, Hawk, I'm kind of disappointed with those boys. I know they did the shuffle, and you know, Jason he parted ways, and John took over vocals. I actually got to sit down with John back in December. It was totally impromptu, didn't plan it. Just like, hey, John, how's it going? Hey, yeah, cool. I was emceeing a concert they did, and I as I brought up the issue of them going from their pop punk, you know, rock roots to the more CHR, daytime friendly stuff, it was almost like his persona changed to like, you know, twisting his foot and looking down at the ground all sheepish like I know. But I get it. They you got to make a living, right? And they were looking to the future, and they're like, okay, you know what, if we want to provide for our families, we have to do this. And what better time than with a big lineup change? But Jason, the former lead singer, has moved on, and I don't know if you've heard his single "Insecurity," but it sounds a lot like old school Hawk Nelson.
You can get the best of me, try to hide the mess of me. You just turn yourself. You wanna take a piece of me, but nobody is listening. You find out for yourself. I'm not supposed to be a casualty.
Sound familiar?
Yeah, just a little bit. You know, it's funny because he had done an album, and it was a little more worshipful, a little more thoughtful, had CDs printed up and everything. He shared this with Paul Gibson. Had CDs printed up and everything. He came home, he put it on, was listening to it, and he's like, this is not me. So he scrapped the entire project.
Wow.
He threw it in the trash, and he went back and wrote stuff that sounded like where he was from.
Yeah, I was unaware of that, but that actually kind of gives me, you know, I give him some respect points for that, for being himself, right?
Yes,
So,
exactly. You know, it's like, did he leave because he wanted to do something different than the band was willing to do, or, you know, what was his reasonings? And I think he really had, pardon me, had to come to terms with that on his own in order to be able to move forward. So I think he did that album to get it out of his system, and he realized that, you know what, this is not where I need to be at all. And so he scrapped the whole project, tossed everything, and went back and rewrote. And that's the album that that you're playing cuts off of right now. That's that sound.
yeah. Has that full album released yet?
Not that I am aware of.
Okay. Because all I know about is the single.
Yeah, and I don't even know if we're I don't know if we've been serviced the single or not. I'd have to ask Tim if that's something that we've gotten our hands on, because I don't think we're rotating it right now.
No. Well, it's been out for a while, but yeah. Anyway, Peterborough, Ontario native, as well as Trevor McNeven. So it's a big town for Christian rock in Canada.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna skip. I'll mention these two, but I won't play clips. But Starfield is worth a mention. I don't know if they get played down there, but they pretty much throughout the 2000s up until their last album, they pretty much owned Canadian Christian music in general, not just rock. But because they were the kind of artists that released. It's actually two brothers, the Neufeld brothers,
Okay.
Tim and John. They would release an album that you couldn't say that's a rock album, that's a CHR, that's whatever. It was a mix of everything. You know, you'd be rocking out, and then all of a sudden there would be this crazy worship tune that belongs on a Sunday morning, right? Actually, I will play. Here's a rock tune from their latest album. This song's called "Natural Disaster." Starfield, yeah.
Nice.
Tim and John Neufeld, solid dudes, and great songwriters in general. And then worth mentioning is a dude named Shad, who's actually a hip hop artist. Look him up. he is the whole I'm a Christian but I do rap kind of thing. And the dude is brilliant thinker, excellent lyricist, and definitely worth a mention. And he's not commercial rap. He is hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know the difference? Like it's like a propaganda kind of style.
Right.
Not so much spoken word, but that, you know, the roots of hip hop kind of deal. So I'm gonna move on towards what I consider the future of Christian rock. Now these guys are really interesting. The name of the band is Ben Borey. One word, Ben Borey, but it's actually a combination of the two leaders of the band's last name. Actually, first name and last name. No, it's two first names. Sorry. Yeah, Ben and Borey. Now, Borey sounds like a weird name. Well, he's from Kenya, so that's why it's Borey.
Okay.
But Ben is from Leamington, Ontario, which is just about a half an hour from here, and they are tight friends with the Newsboys, and they did a song with Jeff Frankenstein called "Love It Up."
If you wanna live, you gotta love it up. Love, and live it out. Live, you gotta love it up. Love, and live it out. The freedom isn't little, 'cause it's freedom non-stop. The treasure is eternal. You can bet it's worth.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. And the cool thing about Borey, who is, I think he's more of the songwriter, where Ben is the vocalist. Borey actually co-wrote the Newsboys hit "Save Your Life" from a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's really successful, and he lives in, I want to say London, Ontario now. So anyway, that's one band I consider the future. Another one is they're lighting it up here. I'm kind of going to give you a little peek behind the curtain, though. Okay, now the lead singer Pip Lucas, who I actually went to the same Bible college with, he and his band Anthem for Today are getting a ton of airplay up here, but it helps that he works for a major radio station in Ontario here. So, you know, sorry to blow your cover, guys, but it's deserved. I'll give them that. Here is their latest single it's on rotation on The Edge right now. It's called "A Little Louder."
If you wanna sing, sing a little louder. If you wanna move, let me see you at the floor. If you wanna live your life for Jesus. Live your life, oh, live your life. She's a regular girl taking on the world, and everyone seems to look to her. There's something about the way she follows him.
Yeah, so similar to old Hawk Nelson, but yeah, a new flair to it, right?
Yeah, totally. I like that sound.
Yeah, I do too. I grew up on it, right? The Blink 182 vibe and stuff. So
Yeah, totally.
okay,
deal.
so that was Anthem for Today. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned the name of the band, but they're going places. I'll say that. Another band that I think are going places is Sky Terminal from Toronto.
Oh, yeah.
And now a lot of these guys, Canadian rock musicians, they double as worship leaders as well, because, you know, as the same in the States, music isn't usually the full-time gig, right? You have something on the side. And this, the main singer, songwriter and singer, Marcel Preston, he leads worship at a pretty world-famous church. If you know about churches, he's at Catch the Fire, which is known for a little bit of the charismatic flair. You know what I'm saying? Like speaking in tongue-in-cheek stuff. Yeah. So anyway, here is Sky Terminal with their latest tune, Satellite. Really cool guys there, though. We had them in Chatham, where I'm from, back in April, and just solid dudes. They actually hooked me up. Those of you that are on the video stream, I'm holding up a coffee mug. They're like, "Hey, man, we like you. Here's a coffee mug." And I'm like, "Like you too, guys." Now, you might recognize them because I think it was last year or the year before. They got a lot of airplay down in the States with their tune "Don't Close Your Eyes," which was off their previous album. Solid tune, "Don't Close Your Eyes." YouTube it and check it out. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, another band, I kind of debated whether to put them in the present or the future. They've done well in the last couple years, but I think they're going to do even better. And this is a band from Mississauga, which is one of the towns around Toronto. They're called Manic Drive. It's another brother duo.
Oh yeah.
Kind of an electronic rock vibe here. Check it out. Here's their tune, "Halo."
I'm not an angel that's in the sky. I rock my halo. I rock my halo. Oh, oh, oh. I rock my halo. I rock my halo. Oh, oh, oh. Use me with any other guy, 'cause my halo is like a neon light, and all the people they can tell me.
Yeah, really cool dudes. I dig them, but can I tell a story about them?
Yes, absolutely.
It might embarrass them. But I do these days anyway. I do quite a bit of emceeing at local concerts and whatever. And they were here, and I was emceeing, and they were about to go on stage, and they had this epic video that was going to play before they went on. It was going to be awesome, and everybody was going to get all pumped up. But the video didn't work. It was just that one of those deals where technology is a jerk, and it didn't work.
Yep.
And I'm backstage with the band, and they were gonna come out, in the dark stage and just start rocking out when the video was done. And the video's not working, and it's like, maybe 10 seconds went by, feels like an hour, and the lead singer, he has a fit, man. He starts pacing around the room. He's like, "Why does this always happen to us?" and freaking out, and
Major meltdown.
meltdown. I'm trying not to laugh because to me, I'm like, dude, it happens. It's chat. Don't worry. You're not on live television or anything. So, and then he's like, MC, can you go out there? I'm like, yeah, okay. And I went out and saved the day. It was awesome. Yeah. Anyway, so
Super
I
MC.
Totally yeah, I totally embarrassed him and made myself look much better. Forgive me of my sin. So anyway, that's Manic Drive. They are releasing a new album. I don't know the date of it yet. I just found out on their Facebook page a couple days ago that they are working on new material, so it's on the way. So
Cool.
Manic Drive.
Yeah, we didn't spin Halo. I think we have it. Like, we could play it if people requested, but I don't think we ever put it in the rotation. We did have another Manic Drive song that did play, and I want to say that they came through our studio. They were touring with another band, and so we ended up doing, was it Manic Drive and Quiet Science? Or Quiet Science and the Red Airplanes? I don't remember. It was a couple of years ago, but we had them come through, and so Tim, I think, was at that show and got to talk to them and stuff like that. They seem like a great group of guys, so it's super cool, and I enjoy their music. But it's one of those that's kind of borderline for Broken FM,
Right.
as to whether or not we should spin it regularly. So a lot of times we'll put stuff. Yeah, we'll put it in for request. Like if somebody wants to hear it, we're fine with playing it, but we won't necessarily rotate it because it just doesn't fit within the grand scheme of how we program.
Sure. Yeah. It might have been "Money." That might have been the song that you played.
It's possible.
It's almost the only other one that could make it on rock. But yeah, they are road warriors. They get around for sure. So
Good deal.
yeah. Couple left here.
Okay.
You know what? I'll leave you with two more, and then we'll wrap. Both of these bands are from out west, and by out west I mean Alberta, Canada, which is kind of our Bible Belt of the nation. It's very they have rodeos and stuff like that there. It's very very Western. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so yeah, Christian music is pretty big there. Now the first band is Zerbin. I almost said Z, but you're American, so Zerbin.
Okay.
Zerbin. And here's their tune, Take Your Heart. Very much an indie rock kind of vibe. I want these guys to come down here to play because I'd love to see them live. It just sounds very, energetic and fun,
And there's something about a live show that really helps you understand, I think, a lot about a band. A band can have a wonderfully polished tune on a CD, but then they could totally just suck live because they're trying to capture that CD sound into the live show, and it doesn't always translate well.
No, and these guys are very, it's indie rock, so it's organic. So you don't have all those loops and stuff that you try to, recreate the CD sound with at a show. So, so that's the one band. And then check this one out. I love their name, and they've kind of got like it sounds like they're from like South Carolina or something like that. This is the Junkyard Poets with their new tune, Got Me Good.
You got me good, I say. Hey, don't you look at me, 'cause love's good to look at you. I say, I'm familiar face, something new than red balloons. I say, 'cause you got me good. On a summer day, catching my flies and
Yeah, so that's the Junkyard Poets. I really don't know much about them, and I've even reached out to them a couple times, but I don't know, they don't communicate with media for some reason. But I dig them, I really do.
They're new bands. They're very distrustful of the media.
Yeah, they don't have a radio promoter to actually do the heavy lifting and stuff. So, you know what? I said those two more, but I got to play this one because they got some good press on Indie Vision just a couple weeks ago. Now, you're probably not going to be like, oh, I love that band. They're awesome because they're very, very heavy. But the band Essentials had a decent little blurb on Indie Vision. And here's their new song, Relentless. And those guys are from Manitoba, actually Winnipeg, Manitoba, and they have a really cool tag on their Facebook page. They say they're dropped strings for the King of Kings. Cool. Yeah,
nice.
Now, but their description, it says that they're melodic hardcore. I didn't hear any melody. But, hey, man, if you're into that, like just a that kind of stuff, hey, Essentials, that's where it's at.
I loved the guitar. I mean, I thought the guitar sound was awesome, but the lyrical style would drive me batty after a couple of songs.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, that's why I almost didn't play them. But hey, if Indie Vision's
give people an option, I mean, if that's their style, you want to let them know that they exist so that they can continue to exist and keep making more music. So
totally. Yeah,
I am definitely down with that.
Did you guys play Found in the Fury about a year ago at all?
Doesn't sound familiar to me.
Okay, because they were on Play MPE, their song Strive. I won't play it for you, but it's worth saying that their lead singer, he's actually a TV host up here as well. He's on HGTV, and he hosts like 4 shows that are all about building decks. Okay, like each one is like, hey, today we're building a deck. And then, 4 hours later, his other show airs, another deck, right? So anyway, Found in the Fury, Strive. If you're interested, go check him out. But yeah, that's the status of Canadian Christian rock.
Well, it sounds like Canada's in good hands as far as the Christian rock is concerned.
I believe so, especially with a sweet jock spinning the hits, you know?
Well, hey, and gee, I wonder who that guy would be.
It's Pip Lucas. I mentioned him earlier.
Okay. Oh, man. Well, let me see here. Thank you, Tom, so much, first of all, for joining today and being willing to fill in for Paul while he's at a wedding. We definitely appreciate that, both he and I. It allowed us to have another show this week instead of skipping a week. And it gave us a great education on what's going on up in Canada. Some of the bands we knew, some of them we didn't, and so we'll have to look forward to some of that music making its way a little bit south in order to fill the ears of the American listener. So we're stoked about what the potential and possibility is in that regard. Do you have like an all-time favorite band?
The Rice.
Really?
Love them.
Okay.
Love them. Yeah. It used to be Metallica back in the day. It just kind of shows you who I am. And but when I heard Thrice, that was one of those bands that it didn't matter how much it cost on the day it was put out. I purchased it, and that says a lot in this day and age.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
totally. Very much so. Well, we don't have a stew today because Paul didn't make one, and because he's not here. And we also don't have Paul's noise trade picks because, well, once again, Paul's not here. So we don't have anything really to really super fancy to close out the show. I could play some
Stupid.
stuff like that.
I know. Can you believe it?
Just to give you something different to listen to after all the great music that Tom just shared with us. But I guess we'll wrap it up by saying that you can contact us multiple ways. You can hit us up at the Rock and a Hard Place podcast at gmail.com or facebook.com/Rock and a Hard Place podcast. Our YouTube channel is users/Rock and a Hard Place PC, all one word. That's where you will find postings of the videos that we have recorded. We record the live stream and then we put it up on YouTube for people to be able to grab and watch. Sometimes for people, instead of listening to it on their phone, they'd rather have the image on the screen and just kind of listen to it in the background. Hey, man, whatever floats your boat, we want to make it available to you. So if you have any questions about any of those links or anything like that, just go to rockandahardplacepodcast.com. Look in the sidebar. We've got all the links there, as well as the video is actually embedded within the website so that you can actually see whatever the latest video was. Let me see here. I think that might be everything. So I guess I'll just say that I'm Chris Cooner.
I'm Tom LaBonte.
And you know what? I played it wrong. I played the intro instead of the outro, and that's because I'm not a very smart man. So we're going to end it now, and we'll catch you next week.